According to the Liberal group here in the European Parliament, the Alliance for Liberals and Democrats for Europe, Eurobonds are the only way to go in order to worm Europe out of this spiralling sovereign debt crisis. Now, the lady in charge of this dossier was Sylvie Goulard, the French MEP from Marseille, and she's here this morning with the EUobserver to explain us how these Eurobonds will work and when. So thanks very much for having coffee here with me this morning. So first of all, this would be a huge step towards European solidarity, these Eurobonds. Do you think that member states are ready for this step?
Well, the reason why we have organised here a seminar in the European Parliament and the reason why we make this battle, we have been making this battle for months, is that we really believe that we need new instruments to tackle the financial crisis, to help the member states to go out of the mess where they are with the sovereign debt crisis. But on the other hand, what we want to show is that it's not a magic stick. I mean, Harry Potter is not going to bring us the Eurobonds. We have to look very carefully at all the conditions, the political ones, the legal ones, and also the technical ones, in order to make it a success. Member states are not ready to accept it now, and I can understand why, because it should not be seen as a way to continue to have huge debts without any kind of controls. On the other hand, it would be really a pity not to see the advantages of this tool.
And the one member state that will be hard to convince is, of course, Germany. Before Christmas, there was a poll that said 93% of financial experts in Germany were completely against Eurobonds, calling them a deadly sin. So can you sympathise with Germany? They have this fear of a moral hazard.
Well, I perfectly understand their fears, and I respect them, I must say. We have built the single currency on the commitment of all the member states to look at their public finances very carefully, and some member states did not deliver. So the starting point of the Germans is a lack of trust, and I can perfectly understand this. On the other hand, I'm absolutely convinced that the stability the Germans are looking for can only be achieved if we find a good solution for the whole eurozone. And without some new tools, the very worrying situation in some member states would have consequences on Germany itself. Take the example of Italy. Italy is a member state where the debt is huge, 120% of the national richness. It means that people are really in a difficult situation. The Italian state, but they have taken extraordinary measures, a new government, a technical one, the best experts of the country. They have adopted new rules within 8 weeks. So I hope that we can trust that kind of team that is completely different from the previous one, and that we can work in a direction in which we can reduce the burden of paying the debt, because if the burden is too high, at the end, even the best would not be capable of reimbursing the debt. So you have used the word sin. For me, it's not a moral issue. Of course, each country has to be serious and rigorous, but we do not have to punish people who have breached a kind of religious law. This is completely out of place. What we need is to find rigorous technical solutions, and political ones, of course, with people who are reliable.
And one solution is a European debt redemption package. Olli Rehn supported that this week. That would mean that debt would be pooled together, mutualised together, just some of it, and member states would have about 25 years to pay this back. Do you think that could be a flyer?
Well, there are very positive aspects in this proposal. It comes from Germany. It has a huge advantage. It is something we can put in place immediately. The legal hurdles are not too high, and it could help the member states to have an incentive in order to make the huge efforts they have already accepted to do, to put in place in reducing their debt. But of course, this is something that would be limited in time. It is how to get out of the current situation. There is another aspect, which is what do we intend to do in the future? And for me, the most important point is that we have created the euro in order to have a global currency, to have a reserve currency, to be sure that our currency can contribute to the stability of the monetary markets worldwide. And for that, we absolutely need a bond market which is united and liquid, and which might be one day another solution for investors who don't want to invest in the US. This is the challenge in the long run, and this has nothing to do with the German redemption fund.
Okay, so what's the next step for these Eurobonds or stability bonds, as you're calling them now, to convince Germany that they are stable?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a long story. First of all, it began last year during the negotiations we had in the European Parliament with the Commission and the Member States in the so-called six-pack, so the package of rules on the economic governance. I was the rapporteur. I put the issue on the agenda, and I still believe it is useful to further study. What I have in mind, and I'm about to write a report, and I hope after discussions with the colleagues, of course, it will be adopted at this Parliament, is to present a schedule, a kind of roadmap. What can be the first step, and what are the conditions required to go to the second step? And if we are successful, what are the conditions required to go to the third step? Because the markets need to have a perspective. They need short-term solutions, but they also need to know what we want to do together in 10, 20 years. So the perspective could be this roadmap, not ignoring the measures we have to take, and some of them might be very important, like, for example, treaty change, to change Article 1 to 5 of the treaty that right now does not allow joint and several guarantees for Eurobonds. But to put it in a perspective and to make it an incentive for the member states to go through the first step successfully, as we did for the euro before we created it.
Okay, 10 years ago. Sylvie Goulard from the ALDE Group, thank you very much for joining me here for a coffee. And you there, tell us what you think of these Eurobonds, whether you think they're a fly or not, by leaving us a message under this video or emailing us at video@EUobserver.com.